Welcome back, folks. This is the Political Goat. I'm your host, Uncle Felix. Today, we're going to switch things up a little bit. No guest, so you're going to be stuck with Uncle Felix for the duration of the show. Hope that's not any inconvenience. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about this race, folks. We're less than a month away, and it's the biggest race in my lifetime, anyway. I know people tend to say that every time an election cycle comes up, but I mean, there cannot be no bigger contrast than what we're seeing right now between these two candidates. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the debate coming up tomorrow between the two VPs, one VP and one VP candidate, and we're also going to talk some football. So it should be fun. And with that being said, let's pay the bills and let's go to the commercial break. And we're back, folks. And like I was saying, you can't have a bigger contrast between the two candidates that we're seeing now. I mean, uh, what makes it so difficult and frustrating for someone like me who's watching and paying attention to what's going on is watching the media just clearly back one candidate. Um, I mean, not that they haven't done this before, but it was more hidden. It's much more brazen now. I mean, you watch the liberal media, any media really, mainstream media is just backing Biden. Um, and again, it's so brazen. The guy can do no wrong, and Trump can do no right. Perfect. Uh, excuse me. Uh, Perfect evidence of that is this whole COVID thing that just happened to President Trump. Obviously, he went into the hospital. I think he got admitted himself on Friday. He's already out on Monday. It's good to see him back in the office and back to his old self. But the media lost their mind over this, especially when he came back out. They were upset that he left so soon. Um, you had all these celebrities, wishing him death, and I'm not going to say all of them. Some of them were, showed some class. Rachel Maddow, who I can't stand, actually put out a classy tweet, asking for prayers for him and his family. That was classy, but that was the rare. That was the rare that we saw. It wasn't the norm. But they lost their mind when he came out, and especially this scene right here. Right, this is the president who came home, gave up everybody a thumbs up. He walked out into the balcony and he took his mask off. And again, as you can see, there's nobody around him. He's outside. What need would he have to have that mask on for? And again, the media has gone insane. It's almost like they want people to go to bed with these masks on. Again, he's practicing social distancing. There's nobody next to him. He's outside. Enjoy the fresh air, folks. I mean, this mask thing is gone a little insane, and that's just part of it. They're up to their old tricks because if you remember back in 2016 when Trump was taking on Hillary, they tried to basically discourage voters by putting out fraudulent polls. I saw polls. Here it is right here of Hillary Clinton up 14% at this time last year. And now today they released one showing that Biden is up 16%. Just so you know, to give you an example of how ludicrous that is, the last time somebody won by that a margin that big, I believe, was President Nixon, and he had carried 49 states. Um, no one in their right mind, I think, believes that Biden's going to carry 49 states. And again, of course, those polls were obviously way off because Hillary ended up losing, thank God. Um, so, what polls do you trust, right? The one I tend to look at is the one that was the most accurate back then, and that was probably the Zogby poll. And if you go to the Zogby poll today, they have actually Trump down by 2%, but there's a 3.2% margin of error in that. So it's a dead heat, and I think that's closer to reality than the Biden up by 16 points. I just don't see that. Um, it's going to be interesting, of course, with all these mail-in ballots. I know Zogby took a poll of people that already voted, and Biden is way ahead on that because I think he is going to get a lot of the people who are going to mail in. Hopefully, the Trump supporters are going to go out there and vote in person. I mean, this is no time to stay home, folks. We we need to win this race. So you might not recognize, especially if we lose the Senate too, you might not recognize this country in a couple of years because it will happen and it will happen fast. From all the things that they want to do and make changes to. I mean, it's insanity. I saw, again, no bigger contrast. You have one president or one candidate in Trump who wants to lower the taxes even more. And basically, that's going to stimulate the economy. It worked great the first time around. And people get scared when you say lower taxes. They think for some reason that you're going to get lower tax revenue, and that's not the case. You actually get higher tax revenue because you broaden the tax base. A lot of people don't understand that, so that's why it's good to lower the taxes, and then obviously it enables you to keep more of your money. Biden has already said he wants to raise the taxes. He wants to raise the corporate taxes up to 28%. Trump has them down to 21%, which was great because that actually made us more competitive on the world stage. More companies came back, more jobs came back, and the economy was booming, of course, until this COVID-19 thing. And quite honestly, it's performing much better than we thought it would. Due to this COVID-19, I think we dipped under 8% at the last check. That's unheard of. People were predicting up to 20% unemployment. We never went that high. People thought we were going to stay right around 10 to 12% unemployment. We're already down under 7%. I mean, under 8%, and that's a great thing. And that's why this race is so important. You got one candidate in Trump who's for law and order. You have another candidate in Biden who doesn't even believe Antifa exists. According to him, they're an idea, which is which is insane because I never saw an idea burn places down and attack people and cause riots. But that's what Biden is trying to sell, and I hope you ain't buying. Um, and you got one candidate who wants to open the country up and return to normalcy. And you got another candidate who says he's willing to shut things down and go into this further. And we can't do that. We can't. We got to get our lives back. We don't do this uh, every time the flu season comes around. And we lose tens of thousands of people every year. We don't shut it down permanently. Um, we live with it. We tough it out. We go through it. And we're at the point in this COVID-19 battle where we know who's affected, how they get affected, and we know how to keep them safe. And so now it's up to us to to follow the correct steps in order to keep people safe, in order to open up our country back. What I mean? We this whole thing is nonsense, and it's all driven, believe it or not, um, because you have one party who wants to keep you dependent on government, and you have a president who wants to make you independent. So it's again the choices. There's a big contrast here. You know what I mean? So vote for freedom, folks. It, it's much better. And then sometimes you see these people. I like hearing from these older generation Cubans who come over and try to explain to the youth here in America who for some reason find communism and socialism to be a great idea. But when you speak to people especially who come from Cuba who suffered through Castro and all that, and they explain to them it's it's not it's not what they think it is, and again, we really need to wake up to that. um but but again, it's the choices can't be any more clear. Hopefully, we'll see what happens November 3rd. But before we get to November 3rd, we still have um, a whole month ahead of us. We got a vice presidential debate tomorrow, and there we will see Pence versus horizontal Harris. And again, a huge contrast between these two. I think Pence is going to have a very strong performance because he's even keel. You're gonna see Harris try to knock him off keel. She'll try to poke in some shots. What I would like to see Pence do is basically stick to the issues and get her to to basically name what side of the issue that she's on, because we all saw Biden um, totally ignore a question. Actually, didn't ignore. I'm sorry. He came on and said he's not even answering it when it comes to stacking the courts. And the reason he's not answering it because they know that that's not a popular stance to have, even amongst Democrats. It's not. But the reason he won't answer is because that's what they want to do. They want to stack the courts, and this is an issue that Pence needs to have Kamala Harris admit to, so the people can see exactly, you know, what they're voting for. You know what I mean? Um, and I believe if he sticks to his guns, stays even keel, gets her to stick to an issue and admit certain things and admit what their platform is, instead of hiding. Because right now they're banking on there are more people out there that hate President Trump that so much so that they're going to vote for Biden, because they're not really running on anything other than we're not Trump. And in my opinion, I think they're overplaying that card. I don't think it's as big as they think it's going to be. But again, we will see on November 3rd, and hopefully I'm correct. With that being said, I'm going to come back. We're going to talk some football. Um, but before we do that, time to pay the bills again. Oops. And we're back. Sorry about that. Um, so, first thing we're going to get into NFL. I'm going to tell you my Power Five this week. And believe it or not, it's unchanged. Right? We still have KC there um, at number one. I'm going to keep them at number one until they get knocked off. Uh, Great second half performance there by Mahomes. The offense struggled a little bit in the first half against the Patriots there, but Mahomes came back and threw two TD strikes in the second half, and they won that game pretty convincingly, 26-10. We all know the Patriots were without Cam Newton, so I'm sure that made a big difference. Again, the Patriots, they're going to have a say in this AFC Championship, especially if they have everybody with all hands on deck there. Seattle still looks unbeatable. Russell Wilson is having himself an MVP season. He threw another 2 touchdowns this week. Green Bay's offense is just insane. Aaron Rodgers threw 4 more touchdowns this week. They did play the Falcons, and honestly, the Falcons stink. Um, the, they might win 3 or 4 games total this year. At number 4, I still have Buffalo. Stephon Diggs, he had 115 yards receiving. He just brings a whole nother dimension to that team. And, that team plays great defense. They run the ball well. Um, Josh Allen is also having a great season, which is good to see. A lot of young quarterbacks out there, playing really well. My Steelers, I'm holding them at number 5. They didn't get to play. The game was postponed due to some COVID issues with Tennessee. So they're going to hold steady at number 5 for me. My honorable mentions are Tennessee. Obviously, they're undefeated as well. They didn't get to play. I'm not gonna hurt them for that. And then rounding off my honorable mentions, I have the Baltimore Ravens, who looked really good again. Um, and they're sitting there with only one loss. But they look tough. Going around the league, I saw that the Texans coach was fired. That team is 0-4, and they're too talented to be 0-4. I like the coach; he's a nice guy, but something has to be done there. I know they played some tough teams early on, um, but 0-4, that's a tough one. Hopefully, their schedule gets a little easier. We'll see, but they got a lot of talent on that team. I still think they can uh, finish right around 7 or 8 wins. Believe it or not, even though they're starting off at 0-4. And hey, how about, how about the Cowboys, huh? Oh my God, one and, 1-3. Nobody saw that coming. I mean, 3-1 would have been a disappointment, when you saw the team that they were trying out there. But take a look at the NFC East, or should I say NFC least. Holy crap, that is awful. The Giants are 0-4 and only a game out of first place. I mean, this is some funny stuff. The Dallas Cowboys, the Washington football team, which is, that's a whole nother issue. They're the Redskins, folks. I mean, I hope their owner, wakes up and realizes they're the Redskins, but we got to go through all this PC bullshit, I guess, and see what they can end up naming their team. But just take a look at that NFC least. That is that is a giant embarrassment, and that's my trip around the NFL today. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be back next week. We'll probably talk about the vice presidential debates there. Hopefully, Pence holds his own and does his thing. Hopefully, my Steelers do their thing this weekend, along with my Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who was also postponed this week because of these COVID issues. Go figure. But, folks, we got to get back to normalcy, um, and my Steelers got to keep winning. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show, and God bless.